another episode of the Square and Compass podcast. This time back in one of my favorite states to visit, though I never made it out to their neck of the woods. But still, Illinois. I know a lot of Masons from Illinois, and it's great to be back. So thank you guys so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
So if you guys could start by introducing yourselves and the programs that you're with, and then we'll talk specifically about what those programs are and what you're doing to support not only Freemasons, but just the community and the state at large in Illinois.
Okay, my name is Jennifer Martin. I'm the director of the Illinois Masonic Outreach Services, also known as IMOS.
And I'm Gail Kilberry, the director of the Illinois Masonic Children's Assistance Program, also known as IMCAP.
And I'm Amber Alexander. I am the Student Assistance Program Coordinator over the Illinois Masonic Student Assistance Program, also known as IMSAP.
So these assistance programs, before we go into the specifics of them, can you talk just a little bit more generally about the way these programs are structured? So it's all, from what I understand, they're all individual entities or programs, but they're all facilitated or under the auspices of the Grand Lodge of Illinois. So just a little bit about the actual manner in which your programs are operating.
Well, our three organizations are considered state nonprofits, and we each are our own entities. We each have our own board of managers, but we're all considered part of the Illinois Freemasonry charity programs. So we do sort of have an umbrella that we fall under, which is we work on behalf of the Freemasons from Illinois and carry out their mission for them. It's unique. We all still, though, report into the board of directors for the Grand Lodge. So we have a two-board system, and each of us have our own bylaws, our own mission, our own policies. So we do operate very uniquely. We don't we don't have the same way that we go about doing even processing applications if someone's in need. Because, like, for example, I'm in charge of children, so it could be children of Masons, but it could also be children of grandfathers who were Illinois Master Masons, whereas Jennifer's program is strictly for Masons, their significant other, or the widows of Masons. And then Amber's program is directed just towards the community in the school system. So we all have a different focus of how we offer our different services.
And to what extent has that focus been impacted by, I guess, the last, feels like forever, last year and a half, the last 2 years, and COVID-19? Because the impetus for this podcast was I was on the Grand Lodge of Illinois website, and right when you go on there, there's a message from the Grand Lodge, indicating that if a brother needs assistance due to challenges from COVID-19, that benevolence and assistance are available, and then your contact information. So how have your programs and services been affected by COVID-19? Have you seen more of a need for your assistance? And also, now that slowly but surely, vaccination rates are going up, and hopefully, we can put this behind us sooner or later, do you think that that will once again affect your the assistance programs?
Go ahead.
Well, I've noticed I've been the director for 4 months now, but even as I look at when COVID, the pandemic started, the need went up greatly. And so we, in our disaster relief program, we've added COVID as, an example of, how we can help. And so we go from one-time assistance and sometimes into monthly assistance. And so our numbers have just just hugely went up and due to the pandemic. But then we are able to sometimes get others back on their feet again throughout whatever circumstances, and then they graduate from the program. So we've had a lot.
Go ahead, Ann.
Okay, so for my program, I just started in July, like the end of July almost. So what I've noticed just from being on the program for that long is that most of the trainings that we do are virtually done. So we're able to kind of have more, I think it's a better chance to have participation from the districts that we service, because of the fact that they're able to do it from their home or from their school or what have you, because we had to adapt to the fact that the COVID precautions, things like that. So most of the trainings I've had to do so far have been virtual, and I've only had like 2 in person. And then when we are in person, we still have to do accommodations to, you know, make sure that we're socially distanced, wearing masks. The food has to be prepared a certain way. You can't, you know, you just have to kind of keep in mind that the COVID rates are going up or what have you.
Well, for the children's charity, I'm a fairly new program. We actually started the children's outreach in July of 2018, which is right before, you know, we really got hit. We had about a year and a half to really build our programs. And I'm so thankful for that, because we've been able to help children in a variety of ways with COVID. In the past year, our increase of how we've been able to help has gone up by 55%. And we, or at least I, was working remotely for about over a year, but our program was able to sustain because we had a database in place that we were able to carry on. And with the case managers, we all worked from home. But that being said, I think the most exciting part about what we were able to do during COVID is it really showed the need for the children's outreach program, because we have programs that are lodge-based programs where lodges can tap in for micro grants. It's called the Youth Organization Connection. And a lot of our lodges tapped into that to really help their children in their area with food banks because of the challenges of food insecurity that was happening, as well as helping with sort of the internet challenges that a lot of the children were having. They were setting up these learning centers in the libraries, and in the Boys and Girls Club, we were able to partner with them, and that was all a lodge-based program. So that was really exciting to see us be able to not only help children that have Illinois relative who's a master mason living or deceased, but we're able to help children that were in the community as well. So we were very busy. All the programs were very busy during this time. And we continued being busy. We've seen an uptick the month of August when all the kids started going back to school in the state of Illinois. The governor mandated that they will wear masks in the schools. And part of what we started doing in March of 2020 was a lot of the families that we were helping, we would order masks and hand sanitizer and just have it delivered right to their home, because we don't want any kids going off to school without proper protection. So we were able to do things like that, as well as computers and IT challenges that a lot of our families were having with the internet, getting hotspots and covering that, because we don't want any of our children to be left behind that might be having financial challenges as a result of COVID.
And to what extent, and this would have been especially true, I think, during COVID, or during, particularly when lodge meetings and lodge activities were suspended, at least in-person activities. What type of challenges have you faced, or to what extent are Masons in Illinois and the larger community and families of Masons, to what extent are they aware of these programs and services that are available? You know, I'm not myself a member of Grand Lodge. Well, I'm not, you know, on any committees or anything here in Ontario, but I know from speaking to many of my friends who are, that one of the most frustrating aspects is when Grand Lodge creates a brand new program, but then you need to make sure that the lodges themselves are aware of it and know where to go for it. And then also, you know, Amber, with your work being so much in the community, making sure the community is aware of it in a larger sense. So what's it been like getting the word out? Have you found that Masons are sharing it with each other and are aware of it? And now that lodges are resuming in Illinois in-person meetings, are you finding, are people doing presentations about it? Just what's it been like getting the word out about these programs and services?
Well, with the IMOS program, to still add to what we were previously talking about with the pandemic, because we usually do with our monthly members, that are on our monthly program, we make home visits. And so that was not possible. And so we were doing a lot of trying to do Zoom calls and phone calls and just to check on everyone. And with our outreach, we used to do, a lot more in person, but we've created webinars for the lodges to show, and we have a DVD to give to the lodges to keep everyone on board and to learn about our programs. And we're now just starting to do in-person program presentations, and then we do a lot of mailing out, and also to other areas that are affected even by natural disasters and things. We send out letters and find out, because even though they're members, Illinois members, Masons, they may be living in other states. So we've just done a lot. We depend on the mail a lot, and get our information out there for outreach.
For our program, the Charity for the Children Outreach is, since we're a new program anyway, since we've just been around for 3 years, we're still, having to really educate our members about what we can do and how we can do it. And it's ongoing, as well as what adds to that is our program continues to grow and evolve based on the needs. And we're sort of figuring out where we do need to focus our assistance in the communities, as well as within the children that are related to an Illinois Master Mason. But what we actually did during COVID, I started offering what we called virtual road trips. Instead of me getting on the road every month, it was the third Thursday at noon and at 7 o'clock. Just sort of a topic was discussed and sharing how we can help based on what was going on currently. It could vary from talking about how we can provide children with access to IT type of related items, printers, computers, or the internet, and updating the members about that. I would always send out mass emails every month, sort of with a focus on what we could do that month, based on maybe if it was the holiday times, how we can help during the holiday challenges. And then if it's related to food insecurity, how we can help with that. So it was just really keeping the information flowing out. We weren't able to go out and do presentations, which is a big part of how we do an outreach. We've started doing that recently. I was just out in Southern Illinois just on Friday night and met with about 25 Illinois Masons from their lodge in West Union, Illinois, and they're excited for us to be getting back out there and getting the word out. But what I find the most effective way is you really have to respond to one person's phone call, and that person tells another Mason. It's really still word of mouth and sharing that they've had a positive experience in working with us, and how we were able to be very sensitive to their current challenges, because a lot of times the reasons Masons don't reach out to us is because they don't want people to know, and they're having a difficult time and they're trying to keep that private, whereas we do not allow anyone to know who we're working with. Everyone gets a case ID. So when people learn how we manage their information and how we handle it very delicately, I think they become more comfortable, and then someone else shares it. But it's really still word of mouth of how we're, for the children's charity, how we're being able to get out there. As soon as we have a positive experience with one family, then they share it at their lodge, and then it moves on from that direction.
Okay, as far as the student assistance program, like Gail said, it is a lot of word of mouth. We do operate with a board of managers, and then there's also a chairman who's assigned to this particular agency or program. So for instance, with me, the chairman, I used to communicate to him about different things that are coming up with the program, and we kind of go back and forth, and he disseminates that information to the board. And then the board therefore goes out and they give this information to their lodges, because they're all from different lodges. in different areas over the state. And then we also have social media as well. Like I've just incorporated other social media, because like previously, prior to me taking the program over, it was just a Facebook group. I've included LinkedIn and Twitter and also Instagram to kind of increase visibility for the program, because what I'm finding is that there are some people that are, some members or brothers that are older and they're not as tech savvy, but there are also some that are younger and they are able to kind of navigate social media a little bit better. So they're able to share that with their districts or their local communities, so that way we can spread the information.
Actually, what are the Twitter and Instagram and Facebook handles if people want to find those pages?
The Twitter is, this is recently created, but it's Illinois _MSAP.
MSI. I'll throw a link in the description.
Okay, and then also the Instagram is also the same as Illinois, it's just IL _MSAP. And the LinkedIn, I believe it says, it's like the full name of the program, Illinois Masonic Student Assistance Program.
One thing I'm interested with the student assistance program, because it's a community program, it's not, it's under the umbrella of Grand Lodge, but it's open to anybody in the community. It's not specifically supporting Masons. What is the community response like to a Masonic program? Are they even aware necessarily when they, hear Masonic assistance program? Do they think of the Freemasons? It's funny. So I'm from Windsor, Ontario. We're right across the river from Detroit, and one of a well-known Windsor tradition is to, or was before the border was closed, was to travel to Detroit to attend concerts and things at the Detroit Masonic Temple. But the number of people who went there who they would say, I'm going to the Masonic to see the Stones or whatever it is, but had no idea that it was in any way or shape or form connected to the Freemasons. They just thought of it as a name. I'm just curious for the Masonic student program. Do people make the connection to the Freemasons? What do they think about a Masonic charity? Are you having to explain?
Okay. It's a little bit of a mixed response, because as a person that I wasn't familiar with Freemasonry, like I knew that what Freemasons were because there's a lodge that was near my church, like an older lodge. A lot of the people, they don't know a lot about Freemasonry or about the Masonic lodges or what exactly it is. So it has to kind of come in and explain basically, hey, it's not what you think. They're not the Illuminati. No one's here to kind of indoctrinate your children or your teachers. And it kind of, you have to break the ice, or I have to break the ice when I come in and explain what the Freemasonry charity is and what the program is. And then once they kind of see a face and they understand that, that's like the main reason that I incorporated the social media, is to increase visibility. Because if people don't know about something, they allow their mind to kind of form their opinion for them.
So like I mentioned at the start, right, I got your information and learned about these programs through the Grand Lodge website. I'll leave a link in the description to the video. But for each of your programs, should in some cases a Mason, or in the case of Amber, just the community looking to access these programs either for themselves or if they know of somebody who may need assistance, how do they go about how do they go about reaching out and potentially accessing some of these services?
Well, with my IMOS program, a lot of it is phone calls and referrals. We also have postcards that you just jot down a few things to refer someone, which I send those out to each lodge to, pass to their members and things. And that makes it really easy. And then we get notified. And then we send out brochures and with my contact information. And so it's a lot of phone calls, word of mouth to get the referrals, and then we take it from there and we reach out.
Well, for our program, there's like what Amber's referring to is it depends on what is the comfort level of how to tap in to finding out about our services or applying for our services based on the member. So we do have a website, IMCAP.org, that a parent or guardian can go to, and they can apply and just send the application to us from our webpage. We also, though, we get a lot of phone calls from brothers who are concerned about family members that they found out, like recently someone had a fire, and it wasn't actually, it was a grandchildren of an Illinois Master Mason. So I received a call from the master of the lodge, and then I reached out directly to the father of that was experienced the house fire and talked about what we could do. And then I, handled and got information I needed for a disaster assistance. And then I moved forward with getting approval from our board to provide that assistance. And all of that can be done within less than 10 hours. So it may be something that we handle just over the phone, or we'll send, like with COVID type of relief. We had a very short 1-page application just to gather everything that might be needed in the home, because a lot of times parents aren't thinking about all the other ways we can be helpful, such as one way that we were able to really help children during this lockdown they've been in is offering virtual lessons. And I actually had a family of 4 children that did online baking lessons, and we paid for that because we wanted them to have an enriching environment, even though that they were home. So there was a variety of ways that they tap in, but a lot of times it's a matter of that phone call or that email that we receive and we respond to very quickly. We don't sit on emails. I know Jennifer and I check our emails even on the weekends, because that's when we're going to hear about a disaster or a fire, and we need to respond right away to that. What's unique about my program is just not children living in the state of Illinois. We've been able to help families that were connected, had a family relationship with an Illinois Master Mason that lives anywhere. So we've helped children in Florida and Texas. Currently, we have someone from California that we're helping, and it's based on them having grandfathers or great-grandfathers that were Illinois Masons.
And my program has a link as well from the Grand Lodge website.
And your website.
Yeah, my website.
Yeah,
They can,
she has her own.
yes, and they can refer someone through that, or someone can refer themselves, and then it'll come right to my email. So yeah, I can address it right away.
Our approach, our branding type of attempt of outreach for this current year that we just started in July for FY22 is trying to let the Masons know, don't worry about the program, or don't worry about if they're eligible. Just worry if you feel like there's a child in need and they have a family member that is an Illinois Mason, a living or deceased, reach out to us. We don't want them to think, oh, maybe they're not eligible because of this or that, but to really reach out and find out from us and let us decide what we can do for those children in that family.
So to kind of follow up what both Gail and Jennifer said is that for me, it's mainly been phone calls and emails to like communicate with different members, and also like community stakeholders or people that are involved with trying to bring the program to their region. We are all available by phone call during our working hours, which we're in the office from 8:30 to 4 p.m. Daily, Monday through Friday. We can reach the 217-529-8900 and then just request us and we'll receive the call. And then we also have our own websites. Mine is www.imsap or IMSAP.org. I'm also available to be reached by email. It is IMSAP@IllinoisMason.org. And then also we have the larger Grand Lodge website, which you said you visited, which is IllinoisMason.org. I think that the best way to reach any of us is just going to be by email, because of the fact that we are always like, I have it connected to my phone. So even if I'm not in the office, I'm still going to respond to email. So that's typically the best way to reach out to any of us.
In terms of people reaching out to you, to yourselves or your programs, one thing I'm curious about, a lot of Masonic jurisdictions and Grand Lodges have, their own kind of patchwork of programs. Sometimes it's very informal, like it's just a benevolence committee type of thing, as opposed to, in your case and in Illinois, it seems as though it's a much more, and I'm sure some Grand Lodges will get mad and comment or whatever, but it seems like it's a much more structured and a very well organized approach to this. Have you had other Grand Lodges or Masons from other jurisdictions reach out to talk to you about your programs and with the hopes of implementing similar programs in their jurisdictions? And if not, would they speak to you? Would they contact Grand Lodge directly? I guess, what would you say to other Masonic jurisdictions who are interested in trying to bring some of these programs and services to their jurisdictions?
I am part of the MACASA. It stands for the Masonic Charities and Services Association, and it's for the directors of each state's Masonic charities. And we meet once a month, and we also have additional webinars, and we brainstorm and what everybody, each state is doing, and especially during things like the pandemic, and we just find each other's ideas and what works for them and how it could work with us and for us and stuff. And so it's really great that we have that committee.
I know with the children's program, since we're relatively new, when I started in spring of 2017, started looking at how we could build this program. I reached out to the Texas jurisdiction, to Missouri, to California. I reached out to them. There's some great children's outreach programs already going on throughout this country from the different Grand Lodges. So I was I benefited from that, and my program has as well. But just like Jennifer says, I participate in the MACASA monthly phone calls. In fact, this coming month in September, it's going to be about children's outreach. And I presented to them as well about what we're doing. All of us kind of have a little bit different approach or offer a variety of different types of services. Some hone in on just one aspect, like Texas. They really do focus in on more medical. Whereas other ones, we kind of focus on the whole child, ranging from extracurricular activities for them to have an enriching experience, as well as medical and clothing and foods, as well as educational, such as the computers or learning needs, paying co-pays for speech therapy, physical therapy. So we do a variety of ways that we try to really help the whole child, just not one aspect of what might be challenging for that child and the family to afford those sort of costs that they need to grow up and to be strong.
Similar to Jennifer and what Gail said, with the program, the IMSAP program, the program was actually brought to Illinois through the National Masonic Foundation for Children. I believe it started in Pennsylvania, and there's other jurisdictions like Ohio who have already had kind of an older established program. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've reached out to the National Masonic Foundation for Children, and we work with them as well. They're one of our consulting firms that actually facilitate the trainings that we do. So for me, upcoming this week, we have an actual call, like with all the state coordinators, where we kind of are talking about our programs. And I'm assuming that it'll be, because it's my first one, I'm assuming it's going to be similar to what they were saying, which is mm-hmm. that we're going to be kind of speaking on our programs and kind of giving each other ideas, maybe feedback and things to engage and expand our programs.
I would like to add something. You mentioned about how organized, and we do have very outlined processes, and that's really a reflection of our our Grand Lodge's board of directors and our board of managers. Our Masons that sit on our board are very passionate about what each charity is doing. They're very involved. I have 8 board of managers, and we meet every month. They hear about every case that we're going to request assistance for. They're very hands-on. We have outlined guidelines or policies about how we look at an application. We look at every application, look at it on its own merit. I think it's real important to understand that we have bylaws that guide us. And so we are very organized. We run as charities, each of us, and we take that role of being a good steward and offering our services based on our mission. So all of that's real important to all 3 of our charities.
I couldn't agree with you more that we owe it to our wonderful boards.
And mentioning that relationship between, yourselves and well, your boards and Grand Lodge, just that relationship. So, for example, when the lockdowns began and when COVID was starting up, what is the communication like between, say, Grand Lodge, the Grand Master, and your organizations? Is it is there regular communication? And for example, offering assistance to Masons during COVID, was that a Grand Lodge initiative that your Crohn's implemented, or was it a combination? Or I guess what's the communication like between yourselves and Grand Lodge, and what are the initiatives like? Is it collaborative, or are you implementing what Grand Lodge is putting forward? Things like that.
Well, it's most definitely collaborative, and we, out of respect for our roles, we have a certain way that we communicate with our Grand Master and the board of directors, as well as the board of managers. I talk, and I think everyone else does, on a regular basis, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week, with our chairman of our board of managers. But when we're using COVID as an example, I remember the director of IMOS, it was Talia Dean at the time, in March when this all started of 2020. Her and I were able to speak with the Grand Master Oakley and discuss our concerns about how we should move forward with even coming up with that blurb on our main page of the Grand Lodge of, we're here if you need us, and this is how to contact us. That was really in partnership. We came up with the content. We shared that with the Grand Master Oakley. He approved it. And then we were able to get it posted, but it's very quick. It's not a slow process. It's very quick. When we have things that need to be addressed, it's very quick. When it came to communicating about how we're going to move forward as organizations and continue working to meet the needs of our children and the Master Masons or the schools that we're serving, all of the different charities, the Grand Master would send out emails and we would be communicated through that. But we can always at any time go through our board of managers chairman, who is our direct supervisor, and work with them and then decide how to move forward based on what was going on or a need that needed to be addressed. But we're all communicating all the time and having Zoom meetings together. I did communicate on a regular basis during when we were all home working with our other charity directors and coordinators, as well as with my chairman about every other day, just letting them know what was going on and how we were handling things and putting processes in place to work from a distance instead of in the office. So it's all about just communicating and taking that time, a lot of emails, but a lot of phone calls as well.
And as of, I can't think of what today's date is. Whatever the date of this interview is, August.
21st, I think.
Yes.
There we go, something like that. That message that you referenced and I referenced is still on the Grand Lodge website regarding assistance should Illinois brother need it. This will be posted about a week from now. But I'm assuming it will stay on there for a little while longer.
Yes, definitely.
And with that, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to appear on the podcast. I know you guys are very busy. I'm sure you're busier now than normally, like we talked about with everything going on. So it is very much appreciated. And yeah, thank you guys so much, not only for being here on the podcast, but for the work that you do, whether it's supporting Masons or supporting the community. Doing the research I've done, it's clear that it isn't, it's a feather in the cap for Illinois Masons
Mhm.
to have your program. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us.